Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into a story, well, it's hard to even describe it. I mean, have you ever heard of a political campaign that throws the very definition of political upheaval completely out the window?
Yeah, it's definitely something that's got everyone talking. It challenges our whole understanding of power, the social contract, even democracy itself.
Right. I mean, we're talking about demonic king of all. Everyone's heard the name. But after going through reports, eyewitness statements, even some, shall we say, interesting leaked government stuff, we still have so many questions.
Well, it's not just about him, right? It's this collision of what we can explain with, well, what we can't. And it's playing out on a global stage.
Exactly. So let's take it back a bit. About a year ago, this figure, nobody really knows who he is, appears on the scene.
There were rumors early on he was this John Hargrave character.
Yeah, I saw those too, but never confirmed.
And his speeches, at first, they sounded like any fringe political thing. Restoring balance, talking about extraordinary means, easy to write off until, well, Detroit.
Things changed after Detroit, big time. If you haven't seen the footage, picture a typical rally, right? Thousands there, cameras everywhere, demonic king of alls in the middle of it all, giving a speech. Then suddenly,
A massive storm hits, centered right on the rally. And it wasn't just any storm either. Meteorologists are still trying to figure it out. It formed too fast, way too intense for the area, and then, poof, gone.
like he just waved his hand and it stopped. Thousands saw it. And we're not talking about some blurry video someone shot on their phone. This is well-documented, multiple angles, analyzed by, weather experts to those Hollywood special effects people.
And nobody can explain it. Not with tech, we know, not naturally occurring, which leads to a big question. Are we seeing something truly supernatural, or is there something else going on here?
And Detroit wasn't an isolated thing either. People started coming forward after rallies in Miami, Phoenix, even Chicago.
Yeah.
Each report, stranger than the last, healings, right. And I even saw a few reports talking about him, like moving things with his mind.
Right, and usually you'd hear that and think, okay, sure. But here's the thing, there's so much evidence now, and nobody's really debunked any of it convincingly, so now even the hardcore skeptics are like, hold on, what if this is real?
And it's forcing us to think about something we see in, like, myths and comic books,
Yeah.
What happens when you've got a politician who can maybe do things humans just can't? So, okay, maybe he's got these abilities, but what does he actually want? What's he running on? It can't just be, look what I can do, right?
And that's where it gets even wilder. I mean, his platform is radical, even more so, I'd say, than the powers everyone's talking about.
We got our hands on a copy of it. It's not your average campaign promises, let me tell you.
For starters, he wants to get rid of Congress entirely. Says it's outdated, can't handle what the world's facing now. Now, I don't know if that's true, but you gotta admit, it's a bold move.
And it doesn't stop there. Rewriting the Constitution. He wants to basically start over and create a whole new system that he says will actually work. But then you've got to wonder, who gets to decide how it works, right? What are the checks and balances?
Exactly. And the economy. Forget these little programs. He's talking about completely restructuring the entire thing. Says he can eliminate poverty altogether.
And climate change. He says he can fix it in 10 years. Now, any other politician, you'd be on that, right? Fact-checking, looking for the detailed plans.
But with him,
Yeah.
well, there's that chance, right, that maybe he actually could. Which changes how you see those promises. It's not even just a political campaign anymore. It's philosophical, existential, the whole thing.
And the rest of the world. They're watching too. I mean, we're talking international news, governments. We even saw chatter from, let's just say, some less than official sources.
There's a real mix of reactions, too. Some leaders see him as a threat, someone who could upend everything, right? There's talk of, well, intervention if he's elected. Nobody's saying it officially, but...
Wow. And others see him as some kind of, I don't know, savior figure. Someone who can solve these massive problems, climate change, poverty, all of it.
But that assumes his intentions are good, which, well, we don't really know, do we?
It's not just global leaders either, right? I mean, back home, people are trying to wrap their heads around this whole demonic king of all thing, and it's causing some serious division.
Absolutely. We're talking way beyond typical political disagreements here. Left versus right, that's nothing compared to this. This gets to how people see the world. Power, what they believe, their whole framework.
Like, I read this one piece, sociologist, they said, demonic king of all is like a blank canvas, and people just, I don't know, project all their hopes and fears onto him, their anxieties about the future, all of it.
Right. It's like when things are really chaotic, systems break down, people lose that sense of control. That's when they're vulnerable to these, I don't know what you'd call it, larger-than-life figures, the ones offering simple solutions, even if they seem impossible.
And his rallies, forget about it. They're more like revivals or something. People flocking there, thousands, not just to listen to a speech. They want to see him, see the power firsthand. It's like they're looking for something more than just politics.
Right, and that's what makes this so different. We can analyze policies all day long, but this is about belief, faith, people ready to accept the impossible because the alternative seems, well, impossible too, just in a different way.
So here we are, election coming up. Nobody knows what's going to happen. It could change everything. And the question is, what does it mean for democracy? Like, really?
The million-dollar question, right? Because if he wins, it changes everything about how power works. Not just here, everywhere.
We could be talking about one person with more power than anyone's ever had. And that's a whole other conversation, isn't it? Accountability.
Yeah.
What happens if he abuses that power?
Exactly. Can you even hold someone accountable who can control the weather, defy the laws of physics, maybe? I mean, what safeguards can you even put in place for that?
It's like we're in uncharted territory, a giant social experiment, and nobody has the instruction manual.
And that's the thing to remember, I think. Whatever you believe, whether you support this guy or not, we're living through something completely new. All the old rules, they're gone, or at least they're changing so fast we can barely keep up.
That's really what we wanted to do with this deep dive, I think. It's not about knowing the answers, because nobody does. It's about recognizing how uncertain things are right now.
Right. Ask the tough questions. Think about what it means to live in a world where impossible, well, maybe it isn't impossible anymore.
Because the choices we make now, what we choose to believe, that's what's going to shape the future.
Right.
Not just the election, but everything.